Could you please go to Kroger and grab me a box of Cheerios? You don't have to go right now. They have to go right now. That seems like a pretty simple request, right? Just go grab a box of Cheerios. And I thought that seemed pretty simple too, so I went to Kroger this week to grab me a box of Cheerios. And I got to the cereal aisle, and I thought, this will be really easy. Like, how many cereals are there? 10? So I'll just go and see, some of you are laughing because you do the grocery shopping in your family, and you know that in the cereal aisle, there's probably 100 or more different kinds of cereal. And so you just have to work hard just to find the Cheerios. So I'm looking for that box, right? You know what the Cheerios box looks like. It's yellow, got the bowl of Cheerios on it, the big black font that says Cheerios across the side. So I'm looking for that, and finally I find the Cheerios. I was shocked by how many different kinds of Cheerios there are. Because I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought I wanted a bowl of Cheerios. And then I saw there's also chocolate Cheerios. And right next to the chocolate Cheerios were frosted Cheerios. And then there were maple Cheerios. I'd never heard of maple Cheerios. I mean, that sounds really interesting. And of course there's honey nut Cheerios, because there's always been honey nut Cheerios. But right next to that there's honey nut blended Cheerios. And I have no idea what that even means. And then there was this multi-grain Cheerios, and I don't know who did anything like that, but it was there. But then beyond all of the different kinds of Cheerios, there's the Kroger brand, Toasted Oats. And they have just as many kinds of that. And I thought to myself, I thought I knew what I wanted, but now that I'm presented with all of these choices, I'm a little bit paralyzed, because what if I choose wrong? Like, what if I choose the maple Cheerios, and I really want the chocolate Cheerios? Or what if I get the regular Cheerios, and for the rest of the day, I'm wondering, what did those frosted Cheerios taste like? You know, we all love to have choices in life, and often having choices is a good thing. But too many choices can be a bad thing. One of my favorite books is The Paradox of Choice by a guy named Barry Schwartz. And in the book he writes, the fact that some choice is good doesn't necessarily mean that more choice is better. I think it's powerful. Some choice is good, but that doesn't mean that more choice is always better. You see, we have this mindset that more is always better. And sometimes more is, but more often than not, more is not. And oftentimes our pursuit of more and our desire for more keeps us from experiencing contentment. Right? I'll be happy if I just have a little more money. I'll be content if I can have just a little more influence. If I just had a few more friends. If I could just have a few more vacation days. If a few more people would like my latest post or share it. And I can go on and on. More. And our pursuit of more, I might even say this disease of more, keeps us from experiencing contentment. This month we're talking about all I want for Christmas. And last week we talked about gratitude. This week we're talking about contentment. And I really believe that this desire for more, this pursuit for more is a reflection of a lack of contentment in our world. And I think the reason we're not content is because we're too busy comparing ourselves to others, and because we can't let go of what we think we want. And those two things keep us from contentment. In fact, the story that the kids acted out for us this morning is a powerful story about contentment. Maybe you weren't thinking about that while you watched it, and they probably did a much better job with it than I will. But I want to read the story to you again from Matthew chapter 2. So if you have your Bible, you can turn to Matthew 2, or you can pull it up in your phone or tablet. If you use the YouVersion app, it's in there, and there's some extras with that this week. But let me read to you from Matthew chapter 2, starting in verse 1. It says, Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him. So here's the state. We've got two cities, Bethlehem and Jerusalem. We have two kind of main characters. We have the wise men and we have Herod. Now I want you to think just for a second about Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Because they're the two cities that are named in these verses. Bethlehem sits just a little bit outside of Jerusalem. And so if you live in Bethlehem, Jerusalem is the big city down the road. So if you got to go to the big city for anything, you go to Jerusalem. And it's an easy day's walk to go back and forth from Bethlehem to Jerusalem. But the two cities are very different. Jerusalem is big, it's huge, it's metropolis. And Bethlehem is kind of a small, out-of-the-way town. Jerusalem is important. For centuries, different empires have waged war with each other for control of Jerusalem because it sits at an important crossroad. Much of history in our world to this point and much of history in the future circles around Jerusalem, but Bethlehem is kind of insignificant. Nobody's fighting for Bethlehem. Jerusalem is the city of kings. All of the kings of Judah and Israel reign from Jerusalem, and we believe that one day the King of Kings will reign from Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is the city of kings, and Bethlehem is the city of shepherds. The kings are kind of a bigger deal than shepherds, because kings are important and shepherds not. Now, if we could personify Bethlehem and Jerusalem, I want you to try to imagine how Bethlehem might compare itself to Jerusalem. As it looks up the mountain at this big city. I wish I could be more like Jerusalem. I wish I could be bigger. I wish I could be greater. I wish I could have more influence. I wish I could be more important. I wish people were fighting over me. And as you hear this, can you hear yourself saying words like this? Maybe not about Jerusalem, but about something else or someone else. Because probably all of us have struggled at some point in our life with this question of comparing ourselves to others. We look around and we see someone who's greater than us, who's more significant than us, who's more important than us. We say, I wish I could be more like that. And as long as we compare ourselves to others, we can't be content. Until we come to the realization that God made them who they are, and God made me who I am, I can never be content. We'll come back to Bethlehem and Jerusalem in a minute. But let's talk about the main characters in the story. The wise men and Herod. The wise men are probably from Persia, maybe Babylon. And they actually would have had a good understanding and knowledge of the Old Testament. Because remember, it was the people of Jerusalem that got carried off to Babylon hundreds of years earlier. Remember that guy Daniel got thrown in the lion's den, was a scholar of the law in the Old Testament, and was also very important in Babylon and in Persia. In fact, he was one of the king's most trusted advisors. And so Daniel would have brought all of the Hebrew literature with him from Jerusalem to Persia, and it would have become a part of the wise men's library, the Magi's library. And so it's not unbelievable to think that they had a good understanding of Hebrew scriptures. And so you have these wise men, these magi in Persia, and they see a star. Now they charted stars, so when a new star appeared, it was something unique and different, and they wanted to know why. And it probably follows that they began to look through some of the ancient documents to try to find an explanation for what they thought was a sign. And probably at some point they would have come across a prophecy in the book of Numbers that says this: a star will come out of Jacob, a scepter will rise out of Israel. And so they have this understanding that when a new star appears, that's a prophecy that a new ruler has been born for the Jewish people. And so what do? Well, they load up their camels, they load up their gear, they get their caravan together, and they head for the city of kings, which is Jerusalem. They arrive and they find the king, because it makes sense to them. If a new king has been born, then the current king must know about it, right? So they go to Herod and they say, Herod, tell us about this new king. They were probably surprised that Herod wasn't like, oh yeah, let me tell you all about him. He's great, blah, 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 blah. Actually, Herod knew nothing about him. So look at the next verse of the story, verse 3. It says, when Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Now that last phrase kind of means this: when the king's unhappy, everybody's unhappy, right? And so if the king's upset, everybody's upset because it means unrest and problems and all that. But why is Herod upset? Why is Herod upset to hear that there's a new king? You see, Herod wasn't a legitimate king of Israel. He, in fact, wasn't even really Jewish. The reason he was king in Jerusalem was because he was friends with Rome. He had been set up as a puppet ruler by Rome to rule over the Jewish people. And so the Jewish people, not wanting to be ruled by Rome, would have been happy and excited for any opportunity to revolt against Herod. And certainly the idea that a new king, even the Messiah, had been born somewhere else really meant to Herod, hey, I'm in trouble here. I might lose my crown. And nothing was more important to Herod than his crown. It represented everything he wanted in life. It represented power. It represented importance. It represented his family and what he was going to leave to them. It was his legacy. It was everything. If you were to say to Herod, Herod, what is the one thing in life that you must have? He would have said, my crown. And so it was the one thing that he could not let go. And remember what I said keeps us from being content, right? Comparing ourselves to others, and that we can't let go of what we think we want and what we think we need. So here's Herod, the king, not necessarily the legitimate king, but the king all the same, and he's holding on tightly to this thing that he wants and that he thinks he needs, and he is willing to go as far as he needs to go to let go of it. If you read further in the story, how far does Herod go to hold the crown? He's willing to lie. He's willing to cheat. He's willing to steal. He's willing to kill children because he can't let go of that thing he wants. Let's pause the story for a second. Let's look inside just for a second. What's that one thing for you? Right? When I'm talking about more at the beginning of the sermon, what's that thing in your mind like, I need more of this, I need more of that, I want more. What's that one thing for you? What's the one thing you can't let go of? I need this. I can let go of lots of other things, but I have to have this. That thing is keeping you from being content. So Herod calls all the people together. He says, look, I need some more information. It shouldn't surprise us that Herod doesn't know anything about the Old Testament, right? Because he doesn't believe in God. He's not truly a Jewish king. And so he has to bring in the religious leaders and says, explain this Messiah thing to me. Who is he? Where is he going to be? And verse 4 says, in assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. And they told him, in Bethlehem of Judea. For so it is written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. By the way, this is Micah, and what he's doing is he's saying to Bethlehem, hey, you think you're the least, right? You think you're small. You think you're insignificant. You might be comparing yourself to Jerusalem, thinking they've got it so good. And Micah says, stop comparing yourself to Jerusalem. Hey, Bethlehem, you're not the least, and here's why. For from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people, Israel. This is so cool. You would think that if God was going to send the next king, if God was going to send the King of Kings, the ruler of rulers, the most important baby ever to be born, he would send him to the most important city ever, to the city of kings. But instead, he sent him to the small, insignificant, backwoods city of shepherds. You see, what's interesting is if you read Micah, this is Micah 5:2, this prophecy. In Micah 5:1, what Micah writes is, hey, by the way, Israel, things are going to get bad. A king is going to come and lay siege to you. And then if you read the next verse, verse 3, he says, and it's going to get worse. Israel is going to be abandoned. So this is actually a bad news passage, where a prophet is saying bad stuff is going to happen. Bad stuff has been happening. But then he gets to verse 5, and he says, but this child this child who's coming, he will bring you peace. This is what Mike is saying. You don't have to be the biggest. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be great. You just need Jesus. You see, bad things have happened. And bad things are going to happen. But that's okay because Jesus is coming. You don't need to be great. You just need Jesus. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to take this, and I want you to take that word great and remove it for yourself and insert the word more, and then fill in the blank with your more. And remind yourself of this truth. I don't need more, fill in your blank. I just need Jesus. The Apostle Paul understood this maybe better than anybody. He wrote in Philippians 4, one of the most popular verses in the Bible. Let me read it to you, Philippians 4:19. Paul says, "And my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in glory." We love this verse, don't we? My God will supply all of my needs. This is great. Let's talk about it. I mean, you've heard me say this before, and you'll hear me say it again. God promises to meet all of your needs, but he doesn't promise to give you everything you want. And he doesn't promise to do it in your time or the way you think it should happen, but he does promise to meet all of your needs. And so what you have right now is exactly what you need. And if you don't have it, you don't need it. Because God promises he will meet all of your needs. Understand this. Right now, Paul and myself, we're talking to your head. We're not talking to your heart. Okay? So we're talking to what you know, not what you feel. We're talking to your intellect, not your emotions. See, you can't always control that emotion that comes in. You can't always control your feelings. Sometimes feelings just come out of nowhere, and you're like, where did that come from? But here's what you can control. You can control what you tell yourself. And you can control what you choose to focus on. And you can always choose to focus on the truth you know instead of the lie you feel. And so when you have that overwhelming sense of I need something more, or I want something more, or there's something missing in my life, that's a feeling, and you need to subject it to the truth of God, which is my God will supply all your needs. Everything I need, I have, and if I don't have it, I don't need it. Now, to really grasp what Paul is saying in this verse, we have to back up a little bit and see what he said before that. So back up in Philippians 4 to verse 11, and this is what Paul writes. He says, "Not that I am speaking of being in need." By the way, Paul's writing this from prison, okay? So Paul's writing about God supplying all his needs from prison. He's there unjustly. And Paul's writing about contentment from prison. Right? So it's not like he's getting what he wants. He says, "It's not that I think I'm in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me." And the him is Jesus. Now, I want you to notice some really important things in this verse. First of all, Paul says, I have learned. He didn't always know this. He wasn't born with this. This is something he had to work at. It's something he had to experience. He had to go through tough times to get to this place. So if you struggle with contentment, you're in good company. Paul did too. But he says this, I know the secret now. So I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. I can be content when things are bad, and I can be content when things are good. See, Paul wasn't always in prison. At one point in his life, he was a really important Pharisee in Jerusalem. He knows what it means to be important, and he knows what it means to be insignificant. He knows what it means to have lots of people around him, and he knows what it means to be alone. He knows what it means to have everything he thinks he needs, and he knows what it means to not have what he needs at all. He says, I can be content if I'm full or if I'm hungry. If I have much or if I have little. What's the secret, Paul? I do it through Jesus. See, Jesus is the secret to contentment. You don't have to compare yourself to anyone around you if you have Jesus. You don't have to hold tightly to that thing you think you need if you have Jesus, because Jesus is all you need. Let me show you why. Jesus encompasses every part of your life. He encompasses your past. He encompasses your present. He encompasses your future. In the past, Jesus offers you forgiveness, and we all need that. Every single one of us here this morning has messed our lives up. Some more than others for sure, but we've all done it. We've all made mistakes. We've all done things, said things, acted in ways that we regret. We know we violated God's law, and as a result, we carry this guilt and our shame with us. And Jesus says, for your past, I offer forgiveness. You see, he went to the cross and he died, and when he died, he took the punishment of all of our sins, all of our mistakes upon us, so that he can say to us, everything you've done in the past, it is forgiven, leave it behind, and never go back. That's what Jesus offers for your past. And in the present, what Jesus offers is contentment. He says, look, you don't have to carry any guilt or shame with you, and right now, I promise you, I will give you everything you need. So whatever it is that you think you need but don't have, Jesus says, let it go. You don't need it. Hey, Herod, you don't need the crown. Hey, David, you don't need any more money. Fill in your blank. Jesus offers contentment because he fulfills every need we have. And this is the best part, is that for the future, Jesus offers us confidence. You see, Paul's able to say, I don't mind having much, I don't mind having little, because I know that it all ends, and I know the end of the story. I know that at the end of the story, what Jesus has for me is eternity with him. Complete joy, complete love, complete contentment, complete fulfillment. Everything I've ever wanted or needed, I'll have in him. That's my future. And if I know the end of the story, that changes the way I watch it unfold. Let me say that again. If I know the end of the story, that changes the way I watch it unfold. See, right now you're watching your life unfold. And you're thinking, I don't know if I like this. And you're comparing yourself to other people's stories, saying, I like the way their story is unfolding better than mine. I like mine. And you're holding on tightly to some things you think you need, and saying, I don't like the fact that I can lose them. But if you know the end of the story, it changes the way you watch it unfold. This week, my favorite soccer team, Liverpool, played a game that I couldn't watch, so I recorded. And they won. So I know you all can be happy. But when I recorded it and watched it later, I actually knew the outcome before I watched the game. And that radically changed the way I watched the game. You see, the other team, Burnley, they scored first. And in soccer, oftentimes the team that scores first wins. And so when Burnley scored first, under normal circumstances, I would start stressing. I would be sweating. I'd be shaking. I'd be nervous. I'd have to take some pills or something, and my team's going to lose. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. But you know what I did? I just kind of kicked back and took another sip of my coffee and said, I know the end. I'm not nervous at all. And later in the game, Liverpool had some chances to score, and they missed. And under normal circumstances, I'd be getting really upset because in soccer, you only get a couple chances to score every game. Say, I can't believe they missed. They're going to lose. What's going on? But you know what? I knew the end of the story. And I was just like, yeah, all right. I know what's going to happen. And when one of my favorite players got hurt and had to go off the field, under normal circumstances, I'd say, oh no, this is really, really bad. What's going to happen? How can they possibly win without him? But I was like, bummer for him, but hey, I know the end of the story. Do you see this? This is your life. You know, maybe the other team scored on you. Maybe you missed an opportunity. Maybe someone you really want to be part of your life has been taken out of your life, and you're having a hard time letting go of that. But do you know the end of the story? Has Jesus promised that he's going to take care of this? Does he have a future for you? then that changes the way you watch it unfold. If you want to be content, focus on what you know to be true. My God has supplied all my needs according to his riches in glory. But before we go, I'm going to give you guys 3 characteristics of a content person. This will just take a second, I promise. But this is something for you to chew on this week as you think about how you can maybe instill more contentment into your life. Here we go. The first one is this. A content people admire but don't acquire. There's a lot of good stuff going on around us. There's a lot of good stuff in our world. God has filled our world with good stuff, and we ought to admire it, but that doesn't mean we need to have everything we see. I can admire the world around me. I don't have to have everything I see. Here's the second one. Content people compliment but don't compare. You know, God's doing good things in your life, and God's doing good things in other people's lives. And when God does something good in someone else's life, be excited for them. Rejoice with them. Say, hey, I'm so happy for you. But don't compare yourself to them. Because what they need is not what you need. And what you need is not what they need. And God's going to give them what they need, and he's going to give you what you need. So you can compliment without comparing. Third thing that content people do is content people can offer gratitude without getting it. We talked about this last week. There's so much in life that we have to be grateful for. And we can spend a ton of time thanking God for all that he's brought into our life. And I don't need to get another thing the rest of my life once I've got Jesus. And I can be thankful and grateful to God for all he has provided without getting anything else. You see how this changes my focus? Because now I'm focused on admiring the goodness of God in the world. I'm focused on rejoicing with other people. I'm focused on being grateful for what I already have. The secret of contentment is to not compare myself to others and be willing to let go of what I don't really need and to focus on the truth I know instead of what I might feel. And the truth I know is this. It's true for you. That your God has supplied all of your needs according to his riches. Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for everything you've given to us. And we repent that often we compare ourselves to others and we hold tightly to things we don't need. We seek after more. And we ought to be grateful for what you've already given. Help us this week to be a church and to be people who are content and at peace because we recognize that you have supplied all of our needs. Thank you for the gift of Jesus, the gift of salvation. Thank you for his forgiveness and the hope of that happens. In your name, amen.